All right. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started here in a minute. Got Miss Tamara Walker ready to present Creating a Birth Plan. We got some giveaways we're going to give away. We're going to do some Q&A. If you have questions, Tamara already said you can just ask those questions as she goes through. So don't hesitate. Just unmute your mic and just make sure that no one's talking at the time and you can proceed with your question. So at this time, no further ado, we're going to bring on Miss Tamara Walker, the owner and operator of Mom RN. And she's going to come on board and talk a little bit more about herself, her business, and then going to go ahead and proceed into the importance and what is a birth plan. So at this time, Miss Walker, you have the platform.
Thank you, Rita, and thank you so much for the invitation to teach today. And I am so excited to be with all of you. And for those of you who are expecting a baby, congratulations. And you are in the right place to talk about how to create your birth plan so that you can have the best birth experience possible. And that is something that I am passionate about helping people to do is to create the birth experience that they want for themselves and for their baby. And so I am Tamara Walker, and I am a doula and a childbirth educator. And I'm going to just very quickly share my screen here so that you can see a little bit more about myself, and then we will get into our topic as well. If you'll give me just a moment here, I'm going to try to pull this up. Okay. And we are going to, like Rita said, we are talking about creating a birth plan. So we're going to help you with how to create a guide for your birth experience. And as a birth educator, this is something that I find really fun to do, and I enjoy helping couples to do. So, again, I'm a childbirth educator. I am a birth and postpartum doula, but I'm also a former registered nurse. And before I ever became certified as a doula and a childbirth educator, about 3 years ago now. It was October 3 years ago when I became certified in those. Prior to that, I had provided labor support for friends and family members for many, many births for over the past 32 years. And so, just kind of as a literal labor of love, pun intended, I had the pleasure of being a support person for many of my sisters and friends, and then also had been in on births as a nurse, even though I wasn't a labor and delivery nurse. I mainly focused on pediatrics and PICU. There were times when I did get called to help in labor and delivery if they needed an extra nurse, and so I have been kind of in the birth world for over 30 years. And about 3 years ago, I decided to become certified as a doula and a childbirth educator. And I created my business as Mom RN because I'm a mom of two and a former nurse RN, Mom RN Birth Services. And I'm in Oklahoma. And so I serve clients all over the Oklahoma City metro area, but I also offer virtual services as well for anyone who is not in my local area. I am also somebody who believes very strongly in evidence-based birth education and how important that can be because I believe that that can transform and enhance your birth experience. When you have the education that you need to make informed decisions, it can not only help you create a very positive birth experience, but it can also save lives. So, we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go along in our presentation today with learning about creating a birth plan. We'll talk about the importance of birth education. So, what is a birth plan? I know that that's something that seems kind of self-explanatory, but I wanted to kind of dig into a little bit of what it is and what it isn't, because people hear birth plan and sometimes that they think, well, um, it's this big long list. Really, a birth plan is just kind of your blueprint for your ideal birth experience. If you are thinking of how you want to give birth, where you want to give birth, how you want to give birth, who you want to have surrounding you, and everything encompassing that, what you are dreaming of, what would be your ideal situation. We're going to create a blueprint for that and create a document that outlines what your preferences are for your labor and delivery. So what's important to you, your values, what you do not want. Those are things that are going to go on your birth plan. And it helps you, it's a tool that it helps you communicate your preferences and your wishes to your healthcare team. So after you create your birth plan, it helps you to communicate what you are envisioning, what you do want, what you don't want for your birth experience for you and for your baby. So in a nutshell, that's what a birth plan is. It's a simple tool to communicate what you want and what you don't want for your birth. And that includes labor, delivery, and immediate postpartum, and the immediate newborn care. So all of that goes on your birth plan. What is a birth plan not? So a birth plan is not a list of demands for your support team and for your healthcare provider. It's not a this must be, I have to have this. It's not a list of demands because we're going to talk about a little bit more as we go along, but labor is unpredictable. So we can't always guarantee that we're going to get everything the way we want it. So it's not a guarantee, it's not a contract that, okay, I put this on my birth plan, it's guaranteed to go this way, and everybody's going to do everything that I want the way that I want. So there's no 100% guarantees in labor, just like there aren't in life. Labor can be very unpredictable. So it's not a list of demands and it's not a guarantee, but it is a tool and a blueprint, like I said, of helping you to figure out what you do and don't want and helping you to communicate that in a concise way. So the importance of having a birth plan, because I've had people say to me, Tamara, people have been giving birth since the beginning of time. And why can't I just wing it? I'm just going to see what happens when I go into labor, and I'm just going to do whatever my healthcare provider tells me to do. And I don't need to create a plan. And what I say to that is that may work for some. And if you're the type of person that you truly just want to be told what to do and you don't want to have any say in the matter and you just want to let things happen as they happen and happen to you, um, then maybe you don't need a birth plan. But I would say for the vast majority of people that I know who are having a baby, having some say in the matter of what you want to happen and what you don't want to happen is very much a part of feeling empowered during labor and birth and feeling like you have some control, even though, like I said, labor can be very unpredictable. Um, Having the knowledge and having some say in the matter can help make the difference between a positive birth experience, even if everything doesn't go 100% the way that you envisioned it and wanted it to, or having a very difficult, perhaps even traumatic birth experience. I've talked with women who have gone into birth with, oh, I know enough. I'll go, I trust my care provider and I'm just going to see what happens and go with the flow. And then sometimes if things didn't quite go the way that they had hoped, yeah, I've heard some regret on the other side of, I wish I'd had the education. I wish I'd made a plan. I wish I had the knowledge I needed. So I feel that it's very important to have a birth plan because it lets your care providers and your support team know what your preferences are. It helps you feel like you have some more control, and it helps to reduce your stress and anxiety. When you have knowledge beforehand and can make informed decisions, that takes away some of that fear of the unknown and reduces your stress and your anxiety. And believe me, in labor, it's very common to get some stress and some anxiety, especially if you feel like you aren't sure what's going on and you didn't know what to expect. And maybe things aren't going the way that you had thought that they might go. So, creating a birth plan can be very important and very helpful for those things. Um, I see that we may have had, I need to pull up the chat. I'm trying to, just a moment. Let me, or Rita, can you let me know if there's somebody that asked a question in the chat?
Yes.
Um, okay.
Between myself and then I've got Tiara, she's on the call. She also helps out with the calls. And then Frida is kind of the backup as well. So Tiara will be helping us navigate if we got any.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Yes. With sharing my screen, I'm not seeing the chat. I just saw it pop up that somebody put something in the chat, but I can't seem to go back to it to see what it was. So if somebody
Problem.
has a question, like Rita said, please feel free to jump in and ask your question or ask it in the chat and they can let me know there's a question. So let's talk about some key components of a birth plan. What goes on your birth plan? And before I jump into that, I'm going to share with you, there's something that I recommend for doing your birth plan is to just make it a very simple document, preferably one page if you can fit everything on one page. Um, and I've got a template that I will share the link for you with you a little bit later on in our presentation that you can download. But I wanted to show you just very simply, if you want to take a piece of paper and write and start kind of creating your own birth plan. I teach classes through birth boot camp, tripped over my tongue. And we just have a very simple template that we use, and it is a one-page yes and no columns for labor, birth, and postpartum. And so you have a yes, please, no, thank you column, unless something's medically necessary that you're like, okay, I really don't want this, but if it becomes truly medically necessary, then yeah, do that. But yes and no for your labor, for birth, and then immediate postpartum and newborn. It lays it out in such a manner that it is very easy to hand that to your care provider, if you're delivering at a hospital, you can give it to your nurse who's taking care of you. If you have a doula, give it to your doula. And it makes it so simple to just be able to look at that and see, yes, I want this. No, I don't want that, versus a typed out written document. I believe it or not, I have seen like birth plans that are, pages long, typed out paragraphs. And I can tell you from experience as a nurse, they don't have time to read that, and it will not get read. It might get acknowledged, but they're not going to have time to scan through and read, pages of documents. But if you hand them a one-page sheet with yes, no for each category, they're much more likely to read that and do their best to try to accommodate that. And so we really recommend keeping it short and concise. So some key components to go on that would be personal information on the top, your name, your due date, your contact information. If you wish to include for your ease when you're filling out, especially if you're going to be delivering at a hospital, when you check in to deliver your baby, when you're in labor and you go in, they're going to want you to fill out some paperwork. And so if you want to go ahead and put on your birth plan, your insurance information and things of that nature, you can do that. You don't have to, but whatever would make it easier for you to have on there so you can just easily pull that out and reference it. And then you're going to list out your labor preferences. So like I said, you're going to have your, for labor, you're going to have things such as what pain relief options would you like? Are you looking to try to do a natural birth or unmedicated? And you're going to be using breathing techniques, comfort measures, physical comfort measures that maybe your partner's going to help provide. If you have a doula, they can help provide, or a family member or friend that's going to be there, they can help provide, physical comfort measures. Do you want to be mobile? So if you are wanting to be able to walk around during your labor or do a lot of different labor positions, such as being on a birth ball, walking around the room, even walking in the hallway. If you want to be able to get up and go to the bathroom, mobility is something that can be impacted by fetal monitoring and by whether or not you are hooked up to an IV. And so if it's important to you to have more mobility during your labor, then you might want to consider things such as asking for wireless electronic fetal monitoring, which a lot of hospitals do have wireless monitors now, but sometimes you have to request that. And then whether or not you need to be hooked up to IV fluids or medications, or you can just have an IV port, which is a saline lock or a HEP lock, where they have the access, but it's not hooked up to fluids or medicine. That will give you more mobility. And then delivery preferences. Would you like, do you want, who do you want to be present? Who's going to be supporting you? And again, use of medication or not medication. So with your labor and your birth, if you are looking for not having medicated pain relief and you don't want to be asked about your pain, but you will tell them if you decide that you need some pain relief, then you can put something like that on your birth plan of don't ask my pain level or don't ask me if I want pain relief or medication. However, if you are wanting pain medication or an epidural, then you can put that on your birth plan as well. Yes, I would like IV pain meds, or yes, I would like an epidural. And that way, your healthcare provider and your nursing providers know what you are wanting and what you are needing during your labor and birth experience. And all other medical interventions, such as how often cervical checks are done. If you would prefer that they not do frequent cervical checks, that is something that you can put on your birth plan. If you would like to limit those. And if you would like to do things such as wait for your water to break on its own. So if you, for instance, if you are going to be delivering in a hospital and you show up and your water has not broken yet, then sometimes, depending on how far along you are into your labor, the doctor might suggest that they break your water artificially. That's called an AROM, or artificial rupture of membranes. Sometimes that can help speed labor along, can, kick it into higher gear, so to speak. But if that's not something that you are wanting, then you can put that you do not want that. And if you do want that, if you're okay with that, you can let your provider know at that time. Uh, so different interventions are things that you need to put yes or no on your birth plan. And you can learn more about those and what is kind of common and normal to expect in labor by taking a birth class. So we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. For baby and immediate postpartum, if you are wanting delayed cord clamping, you can have that on your birth plan. If you're wanting to have immediate skin to skin, which nowadays that's pretty common, that they expect that, as long as mom and baby are doing fine, we're going to have immediate skin to skin. We're going to have that golden hour of kind of delaying anything that's not absolutely necessary to do within that first hour or two after baby's born, so that the parents can just focus on having some bonding time. And if you're planning to breastfeed, establishing breastfeeding. If you want to delay having the baby's eye ointment, antibiotic eye ointment, vitamin K shot, things of that nature. You can put those things on your birth plan of what you do and do not want. And so those are some key components of what would go on your birth plan. So some labor and birth preferences. Again, you can put who your support team is going to be. So when you're creating your birth plan, who do you want to have with you or plan to have with you? So if you are married or have a significant other who is going to be with you, then you can put them, that they're going to be part of your support team. If you have another family member or a friend who's going to be with you, or if you've hired a doula to be with you, put on your birth plan who your support team is, so that your care provider is aware, and your everyone who's taking care of you knows who are the other members of the birth team. How do you want your environment to be? That would be another preference that you can put on your birth plan. So if you're giving birth at home or a birth center, you have more control over the environment. You can, have a little bit more control than you can in a hospital. But even if you're doing a hospital birth, you still often can control things like how much light is on. What's the temperature in the room? A lot of rooms these days have their own thermostat, and you can control the temperature, make it as cool or as warm as you want. If you wish to have certain smells, such as aromatherapy. Now, you typically cannot burn a candle in a hospital room, but you could possibly, if your hospital allows, bring a diffuser if you want to use essential oils, or if they won't allow a diffuser, you can put some essential oils on a handkerchief or something that you can just kind of hold up and smell as you wish. If you want music, if you have a playlist, you could have that on your birth plan. And then mobility, like we talked about before, if you want to be able to use a birth ball, if you want to have different positions that you're going to use, all of those things are something that you can put on your birth plan of, I want to be able to be as mobile as possible. And then, like we talked about a few minutes ago, with different interventions, if you are not wanting to be induced, if you're wanting to wait until you go into labor spontaneously, unless there's a medical necessity, then you can talk with your care provider about that and have that on your birth plan. If you are not wanting or wanting augmented labor, meaning you've, for example, you've gone into labor, you've shown up at the hospital, but maybe labor's going very, very slowly. Maybe things have stalled out. Sometimes they will suggest giving some medication, typically Pitocin, to kind of speed the process along. And if that is something that you want or don't want, you could put that on your birth plan. And if you want, you can put different interventions that you do or don't want as far as assisted delivery. If it becomes medically necessary, that would be forceps delivery or vacuum delivery. Now those are fairly rare and are not done unless they are medically necessary. And also with a cesarean, that's another type of assisted delivery. Usually, if it's not medically necessary, then they're not going to do that. But if you have strong feelings and preferences, you can include those on your birth plan. So these are some things under your labor and birth preferences that you would put. Ah, apologize. See if we can go on to the next slide. There we go. So a little bit more on your pain management options. Those you can include on your birth plan as well. We talked a little bit about those natural pain relief, things that you plan to use if you're wanting to use hands-on support from your support team, aromatherapy, water therapy, if you have that option. Some hospitals and most birth centers have tubs that you can use if you're wanting to be in the water. If they don't, then they at least have a shower available. Of course, if you're giving birth at home, you have more options at home as well. And then if you're wanting medicated pain relief, there's, epidural is what's most common, but then there's also some hospitals have nitrous oxide, or there's also IV medications that can be given. So if there's, options that you are really wanting and feel strongly about, include those on your birth plan. If you are of the mindset of, I won't know till I'm in labor and see how I feel, and I'm open to whether I feel like I want to just continue without medication or whether I decide while I'm in labor that I want medication, you can put that, on your birth plan as well, or you can just leave it open and, see how things play out in your labor and what you need at that time. Again, a birth plan is not set in stone. And so you may just have to adjust as you go along. And we'll talk about being flexible in a minute. Your postpartum and newborn preferences, we already kind of mentioned that immediate skin to skin, delayed cord clamping, whether with the placenta, whether you want expected management or active management after the placenta is delivered. If there's any postpartum hemorrhaging, sometimes they will automatically give Pitocin to help the uterus clamp down after the placenta is delivered. If that is not something that you are wanting, you can put that on your birth plan. If it's something you're open to, then you can just discuss with your birth provider what they usually do and put on your birth plan what you wish. Um, Feeding preferences for your baby, you can put on your birth plan what you are planning to do. And then newborn procedures, like we talked about, whether you want those delayed until after the golden hour, or whether you want them done or not done at all. I will tell you with the vitamin K shot, if you're delivering in a hospital, you typically, if you are turning that down, and the antibiotic eye ointment, if you're turning those down, you typically do have to sign a form to decline those. Um, if you're having a boy, if baby boy is being circumcised or not being circumcised, that can go on your birth plan, what your preferences are for that. And then communicating your birth plan. So once you have decided what you want, what your preferences are, what you do want, what you don't want, then it's very important to communicate your birth plan. Again, it's a communication tool that you're using to share what you want. And you're going to discuss that with your healthcare provider after whoever your partner is, talk with them because they may have feelings about certain matters as well, especially when it comes to the baby. And so once the two of you are on the same page, then take it to your healthcare provider and share that with them. And then be willing to adjust because once you have discussed this with your healthcare provider, there may be things that your healthcare provider given your circumstances, your medical history, how your pregnancy is going, there may be some adjustments that need to be made. Also, sometimes your healthcare provider's policies, the hospital's policies, or birth center, or midwife, whoever your care provider is, and wherever you're giving birth, there may be policies that play into what can and can't be done. And so you may have to adjust. And then once you have made those adjustments and edits on your birth plan, then you can share with all of your support team. So you're going to give a copy to your care provider. If you have a doula, you'll give a copy to your doula. And if you're giving birth in a hospital, you're going to share it with your nursing staff as well, so that you ensure that everyone knows what your preferences are and they're aware. So let's talk about flexibility and adaptability because it is so important that you realize, like I said before, this is not a set in stone plan. It's a blueprint, but sometimes adjustments have to be made. And we have to be flexible and willing to adapt. And so be prepared. Your healthcare provider may say, hey, we need to adjust to make some changes here or there. Hospital staff may say, hey, hospital policy won't let us do that, or hospital policy says we have to do this. Have to have some flexibility. And then also, it kind of depends on how your labor is going. On certain things may become medically necessary that maybe you didn't want, but maybe now they've become necessary. So understanding that maybe not everything will go according to plan. Just like life, labor is unpredictable. Kind of like that old Forrest Gump saying, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Labor is very much that way. You just don't know until you go into labor. And even if you've done it before and you've had babies before, every labor is unique and special and different in its own right. And so it's important to stay informed, especially as your pregnancy goes along. If anything changes, that may mean you have to adjust your birth plan. And then when you get into labor, stay informed of what's happening. And make sure that you have armed yourself with the knowledge so that you can make decisions, know what your options are, and be ready to make informed decisions if things do have to change. So, what is the best way that you can prepare before you even create your birth plan? The best way that you can prepare so that you can create your birth plan, so that you can be armed with the knowledge you need, and so that you can have the best birth experience possible is take a birth class. And I say this, yes, I'm a birth educator. Um, so, of course, I'm going to say you need a birth class. But even before I became certified as an educator, I saw it time and time again with births that I attended. People who have educated themselves, know what to expect, know what their options are, even if things go sideways during their labor, they tend to overall have a more positive feeling about how their birth experience went and less um, disappointment or even trauma if things didn't go the way they wanted. When you have the knowledge, it makes all the difference. The more educated you are about what to expect, the better prepared you will be able to make informed decisions and give informed consent about your pregnancy, about labor, birth, your postpartum, and what your newborn care preferences are as well. So it greatly increases your chances of having a positive birth experience, no matter what ends up happening in your labor. It can make world of difference. And I've seen it time and time and time again. So I can't stress enough. Take a birth class. Um, it is the best way that you can prepare yourself and feel confident and feel less anxiety, reduce that stress, because that fear of the unknown can make us so stressed out sometimes that it just takes away that joy and just makes labor harder when it didn't have to be harder if you just had the knowledge that you needed to feel like you could make informed decisions and choices about what you want. So we're going to sum up a little bit on what a birth plan is. So a birth plan it's a blueprint. It helps you to communicate your preferences to your care providers and your support team. And it is not a list of demands, and it's not a guarantee that life is going to go the way we want and that labor is going to play out exactly as we picture it. But it is a way to help make that more possible and more likely that things are going to go the way that you wanted because you've had some forethought and planning and educated yourself. Take a birth class. Like I said, taking a birth class is key. So incredibly important. And be flexible. Be willing to adjust and understand we have to adapt. And even if things aren't going 100% the way that you had planned them and put on your birth plan, doesn't mean that, okay, well, it didn't go exactly the way I wanted, so now it's not a good experience. It can still be a great experience, still be wonderful if you are willing to be flexible and you have the knowledge you need to be able to adapt and make those decisions as you go along. And finally, trust your instincts. It is so important to listen to those motherly instincts that you already have. And if you are feeling like my body's telling me to be in this position, or my body's telling me to do this, or possibly if you're feeling like, okay, something's not feeling right. I don't know what's going on, but something's just not right. Communicate that. Trust those instincts and advocate for yourself. And that will help you as you go along. Instincts are given to us for a reason. And even if you are a first time mom expecting your first time baby, you already have those instincts and you know what you need for yourself and for your baby innately, along with educating yourself and learning what you need to learn. And that's going to help you even more to listen to those instincts. So I'm going to open it up for Q&A. And in the meantime, there's a birth plan template that you can go and download. The link is here on the slide. We can also, could we pop that into the chat, please? Could put those links
Sure.
into the chat.
Yes.
Okay, actually, let me see if I can open up the chat and on my screen, and I can try to put those in there. If it's letting me, uh-oh, I apologize. I'm trying to see if I can copy this, if it'll let me.
Let's see.
Uh-oh.
Birth boot camp. Is it on your main website too, or?
Not this link, but here, I'm typing it in the chat right now, or putting it
Okay.
in right now. Yes. Okay.
All right, there we go.
And then let me see if I can copy this one. It's okay. There we go. So I'm sharing with you my birth plan template there. And that is through Birth Boot Camp.
Mhm.
And Birth Boot Camp is an organization that I certified through for my doula training and for childbirth education. I teach their curriculum. And like I said before, I serve the Oklahoma City area in the state of Oklahoma, but I also have virtual options as well. So I do teach classes online through Birth Boot Camp. We have what we call a hybrid way of doing that, hybrid classes, where you can sign up through me. If you sign up through me for Birth Boot Camp online class, then I get you set up with the online class for Birth Boot Camp, and you can watch those each week. You can watch each lesson at your convenience. And then
Mhm.
we have a set day and time that we meet on Zoom for about 40 minutes, usually half an hour, 40 minutes or so. And we discuss that week's lesson. I give some additional instruction, and it allows you to ask questions about that week's lesson. And I kind of help guide you through that class. So it's kind of almost like I'm there teaching in person, but you watch the classes online and then we meet virtually to discuss it and get your questions answered. And then the birth plan template is the one that we use for our birth boot camp classes. And they also offer it free to anyone who would like to download it and use it, along with some instructions on how to use it. And they did give me permission to share that with you.
Awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, Q&A time. Was there anything else that you wanted to add? Um, as we're wrapping everything up, Miss Tamara,
I just wanted to see if there's anybody that has questions that they would like to ask.
feel free to hit your mic and proceed with your questions if you have any.
And I see that a fellow doula shared a doula tip to take your birth plan to an OB appointment and request it to be scanned in so it is easily accessible. That is an awesome tip. And thank you, Tiara, for that tip. So fellow doula there, shout out to her. That's awesome because yes, because things are so digital now,
Mhm.
if your OB's office can scan it and put it into the portal for the hospital staff, then that kind of saves you one step there on printing out copies for the staff. I still recommend bringing a printed copy just in case they don't get it. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions at the
Any
moment.
questions? Okay. So we're going to do a quick, we got some giveaways that we're going to be doing here. And it's on our baby plaque. I just put it in the chat. This plaque will have a picture of your baby, whichever picture you send us. It will have the timestamp of the day your baby was born, their name, and you could just, if you had the baby, you could send it to us if you're a winner. If not, when you have the baby, you get settled in, you can send us the information then. So we're going to give away 3 of these, and I'm going to ask the question. And let's see here, you put in the chat. So I'm going to put the question in the chat right here. The first question is, what is the purpose of a birth plan? And let me see here. We're going to hit send. Is it A? Uh-oh. That ain't come out right. A, guarantee for the kind of birth experience you desire. B, a tool or way to communicate your birth preferences. Or C, a list of demands, which is the correct answer. B is the correct answer. So Adrian Newman. All right, Adrian. And what you're going to do is just send me your information. Well, just send me in the title when you send the email, just put winner so I'll know it's you. You can send it right to that email address, Rita at the Mommy Care Kit. All right, so we've got Adrian Newman. All right, so the next question will be, who should you give your birth plan to? And the answers are as followed. Let me see here. This is bad copy and pasting I'm doing. Hold on a second. Okay. Is it A, your care provider, B, your birth team, or C? All C is the correct answer. So Stephanie Bennett is the winner for that one. So Stephanie, please send me your information. Okay, and now we're going to go to the last winner, the last question. Hold on one second. All right. And the last question is, what is the best way to prepare before creating your birth plan? A, take a class. B, ask a friend. Or C, call the nurse hotline. A is right. A is the right answer. We got Miss Angela Patton. All right. Okay. Welcome. Congrats to all the winners. Okay. Any questions or anything like that before we wrap it up? Any questions that you guys may have at this time? Moms, don't be shy. Any questions? So Brittany asked, will the slides be shared? This presentation slideshow, will that be shared with them?
I can if they send me a request. My website, let me paste that in there again.
Sure. Let's see here.
So if you wish to contact me through my website, there's an inquiry form. And if you'll fill that out and then just in the other or notes, just put that you attended today and you would like the notes for this, I can send those to you. And then Rita, I understand we recorded today. Will this be
Yes,
shared online afterwards or will it be made available so that they can watch it later?
it will be. As long as we have your permission to
Okay.
share the
Oh,
information,
yes,
we can do that.
absolutely.
Okay,
Yes.
that's fair.
Okay, great.
No problem at all.
Wonderful.
Let's see here. And then Frida, you was asking a question. Let me see here. Andrea mentioned to give the prize to the next person. Okay. So Andrea wants us to give the prize to the next person. Okay, well we can do that. So that was the first question. Hold on one second.
Yeah, I believe Andrea said that she had won previously, so she was wanting to
Yeah,
share.
no problem. Let me just see who was right behind her. Andrea. Okay, so Angela already won something. So Ronisha Jackson, are you still on the call? If so, you can send me your information.
I'm here.
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations to you. Congratulations to you. Okay. Any other questions or anything like that? I'm going to stop the. Any last minute questions, and we'll wrap this up. All right. Well, we do want to thank everyone for taking the time out of their busy schedule to attend this awesome seminar. Well, thank you, Tamara, for coming on and sharing this
Thank
information.
you.
I wish I would have had access to it when I had my baby, but um, hey, I'm glad we have the opportunity now to share this, especially using Zoom. We can kind of get the word out nationwide. We've got moms all over that are on the call. So I
Yes.